Yep. You gotta do Torchwood now. Okay. Now we did miss episode 5. We'll just have to get that later.
Supernatural forces stalk the suburbs of Cardiff, but are they friendly or malevolent? All right, that's Small Worlds.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't... It's going to be a thing of, well, we missed Small Worlds. I don't think anyone's going to care. I don't remember that one being very positively received, so...
And I'm guessing it doesn't have any carryover plot points, too.
No. Most of these are all, like, self-contained stuff. So. Oh, whoops. Great. I left the recording going from the end of Doctor Who. So, why don't I just start that over? I remember I did that one time. I left my recording and we like went out to dinner. Came back like 3 hours later. It's like, whoops. Oh well.
That's what editing's for.
Yeah. Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Torchwood. Now normally this is where we would recap the last episode, but there have been a couple more since then. So last time we did do day 1 as a reaction, but we have a couple more episodes that we're going to talk about. So first, let's talk about episode 3, which was Ghost Machine. What do you think about that one?
Very good. The people were able to see things that had happened in the past. A young woman was, molested essentially, and who's the young guy?
Owen.
Owen. I wouldn't say Ian, but Owen decided that he wanted to try to make the guy who had molested the girl pay for it. Even though it was like 20 years later.
Yeah.
So overall, interesting episode.
Yeah. I did write down some notes while we were watching. I have to say, it was weird watching it without a camera rolling. I have to tell you guys, I've literally had dreams where I am watching like the next episode of a show I'm reacting to, but I'm not doing it on camera. And I'm just like, how am I going to explain this? Just like, well, I watched another the next episode off screen, so we're gonna move on and stuff. It's like, I've literally had that dream like 5 times since I've done this. So actually doing that was kind of weird.
He's having what we used to call the actor's nightmare, and I also have one called the teacher's nightmare, where he's done this for so long that if he does anything that's different, it comes back in his subconscious.
Yeah.
My teacher's nightmare, and it's kind of evolved now into the non-teachers, but I used to have to change rooms, or sometimes even buildings. One time I changed rooms 4 times in 4 semesters. That was very weird. And it got to the point where I started dreaming about not being able to find my room. Well, just 2 or 3 nights ago, I had a dream where I was coming out of ostensibly the theater that I work in, but my car wasn't there. It wasn't where I had parked it. And I went over to the spot and I said, I absolutely know that I parked my car right here. But I looked around and there were only like 4 other cars in the parking lot and none of them were mine. And I was going, oh man, I can't believe that somebody took my car. So it's one of those things where you do something over and over and over. The repetition becomes ingrained literally into your subconscious, so that when you don't do it correctly, it shows up and your brain is going, somehow something's wrong. Fix this.
Yeah. So, though I will say that's generally the most tame, normal dream that I have. Most of my dreams are me standing in my backyard looking at the sky and some weird spatial phenomenon going on. So, I can't explain why. That's just how it happens. So, anywho. So I wrote some notes about these episodes still. For Ghost Machine, the first thing is the multiple uses of the phone book that they did. Like every time they had to like find someone, and Tosh was like going through like, oh, I'm trying to run through facial recognition and going through all the records and stuff like that. and then Owen just went to a phone book and is like, here he is, it's probably this guy. So, but the biggest thing from that episode, I would say, is Owen's story, and how it's just like, as much as he is, he's kind of a dick in the first 2 episodes and stuff. And then in that episode, I like that it's like, him going through that, and he says, he experiences, those feelings as they're happening and stuff. And the whole thing is that this machine basically projects those emotions that are there. And so the fact that he goes through all of that, and it almost like traumatizes him. And it's just like, I like that. I like how they did that. I think he really pulled that off. It was a good, serious moment for him, and for the show and his character, definitely. And then after that, we watched episode 4, which is called Cyberwoman. What was that one about?
The least used, the receptionist guy, apparently after the original Cyber Dalek invasion, had kept one because it was his girlfriend, and she had not been entirely completed as to a Cyberman, and so he was trying to reverse the process, but she decided she wanted to complete the process, and so very complicated but interesting episode.
Yeah, I remember that one was another contender for worst episode of Torchwood that we could have watched. It was between that one and Day One. I thought Day One was funnier.
Yeah, Day One was very funny.
Yeah. Both of them, I will say, not to add fuel to this old fire, but both of them written by Chris Chibnall, I noticed. And I thought, that's an interesting little note. Now, again, not to add fuel to that old fire that I've been hearing for 5 years or so, but I did think it was interesting. I think it suffers from the fact that we just don't know Yanto enough at this point.
Yeah.
Like he's like, again, like you said, he's basically the receptionist. He's the guy that kind of cleans up in the background, but we don't really see a lot of him. And it may have worked better if it was later in the season, if we get to know him a bit more. Like, this is pretty much the first episode where you know anything about Yanto, and he's going against Jack and the team and everything and stuff. And I thought, I don't know how well that works.
And one thing I would like to know is Yanto a Welsh name? Because I literally, in 73 years of living, have never heard anyone. The first time I heard it, I thought I had misheard it, and they were calling him like Iago or something. But it's Ianto. It's like,
yeah, Yanto. I do believe he is Welsh. I think they said that in the episode. But yeah, his name is Yanto Jones, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a wonderful kind of storyline that I remember from the British film Zulu, which came out, I guess, about 64 or 65, somewhere back there, that a lot of Welsh people are named Jones. And in the regiment that's fighting off the Zulus, when they're going through after the first battle and trying to find out, who's been killed and who's been wounded, they literally have to say Jones. It's not 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they're going by their badge numbers or something. And he goes through, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. So yeah, apparently that is a very common name in Wales.
Well, it's just funny too, because it's like you have that, but at the same time on Doctor Who, you have Martha Jones, who's not Welsh. So it's just like it's just a funny little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I had like a couple questions from Cyberwoman. The first is, who was the guy that Yanto brought in? Like, they never explained who he was.
Oh yeah, the Japanese doctor.
Yeah, he was like an expert on cybernetics and stuff, but they didn't explain, like, is he also from Torchwood? How is he also from Torchwood? Is there a Torchwood 5 we've never heard of or something? There's Torchwood in Japan that we just never heard of. And so that was kind of weird. And then he died, and I was like, okay, I guess we're just not getting the answer to that. And then the 2 questions that kind of go into each other is, if you're in this situation, this ridiculous situation where this person's been put in, in the cyber bikini, I think that's the other main criticism of the episode. It's like, okay, come on with that costume. But it's an interesting thing because it brings up, like, should you try to save them, de-convert them, especially because she wasn't fully converted, or should you just put her down, put her out of her misery, basically, and try to move on. And it is an interesting thing. And then the question of like, was Jack being too cruel about it? Because I mean, Jack hasn't even encountered the Cybermen, really. Like, he knows that they took down Torchwood 1, but he's never personally encountered a Cyberman. But for him, he's just like, there's just no questions asked. This thing is a thing, and it needs to be put down, before it destroys. It reminded me a lot of, it reminds me a lot, actually, of, like, that first Dalek episode where you see the Doctor and there's just all this rage in him, and it's like, no, if we let one Dalek out, it will destroy this entire world, but in that episode, he's kind of brought down from that, seeing, this Dalek is in the same position as him, and you see the Dalek from the perspective of Rose, and it all kind of works out. Whereas this one, if anything, Jack is just completely right, because she does, try to give into the, she does kind of give into the Cyberman programming and everything. And even at the end, she takes the body of the pizza girl, and she's like, well, now we can be together and convert the rest of the world. And then they just shoot her, and it's just like, I guess Jack was right. It's like the episode kind of presents it as he's being way too cruel about this, and he's not thinking about Yanto or his feelings or anything. And then you get to the end of the episode and it's like, no, he's exactly right. So it's just kind of a strange thing, I guess, with the writing. So,
and you're mentioning several things just now, kind of brought back an odd little memory. It's very reminiscent of Star Trek First Contact, where Picard realizes that some of his crew have been taken over by the Borg, and he realizes there's nothing he can do but takes out the machine gun and takes the safeties off and shoots them. And the lady says, you enjoyed that, and he goes, no, you have to understand, I've been through this process before. There's nothing else we could have done. So I mean, it's honestly, it's going through Cyberwoman again. It's like, it's clunky. I think it does suffer from the fact that we don't know Yanto at this point, but it does have a lot of interesting ideas, I would say. So, and this is where we would talk about Small Worlds if we had watched it. We did not get around to watching episode 5. Unfortunately, we will try to watch it at some point after we do this, before we do the next episode, which I haven't decided what the next episode we're really going to react to is. But yeah, we have not watched Small Worlds. From what I remember, it was not amazing. It's not that well received, but I don't know. We'll watch it at some point, and then we'll talk about it then. But today, we're moving on to episode 6, which we probably don't need too much more preamble before we go into that. We've been talking for like 12 minutes already, so... honestly, that discussion of Cyberwoman became more than I thought it would be. Yeah. But I guess so far, I mean, you've seen 4 episodes of Torchwood. Yeah. How are you enjoying it so far? It's good. Again, it's not Doctor Who, that's for sure. And if I were watching this back in 2005, 2006, whenever it came on, yeah, I would have kept watching it.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing. It reminds me of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot, where it's just like, well, this isn't really, the MCU going around doing superhero stuff. It was, there was an episode in season 1 where it's like, well, Thor: The Dark World just came out, so let's have our S.H.I.E.L.D. team. They go and they have to clean up all the stuff, all the aftermath of that battle and stuff. And then eventually, I guess, honestly, like Torchwood will do, it kind of branched off and did its own thing, separate from the bigger part of the franchise. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting going back and rewatching these episodes, definitely. So, and speaking of, we're going to do that. We're going to get into episode 6, hoping that there was nothing in episode 5 that we needed to see. I don't think there was. I think this episode is pretty self-contained. But this I remember as being one of the better episodes of Torchwood. So yeah. With that said, I guess we should get going.
Let's do it.
give her credit. She has something.
Get back in the car and call 911. Got a football for a head?
Ow.
I hate the countryside.
This is also written by Chris Chibnall.
Dirty, it's unhygienic. And what is that smell?
That would be grass.
It's disgusting.
Local man touches grass.
17 disappearances within the last 5 months. Police are clueless.
Now there's a surprise. No offense, PC Cooper?
The last known whereabouts
Assuming
of each
PC is
one
police constable.
Is somewhere around here.
Careful. They're up. Sure you don't want anything, Tosh?
Really sure. A friend of mine caught hepatitis off a burger from one of these places.
What's the matter with the hotel?
People are going missing around here. Do you really want to stay in a place run by strangers?
Oh, because sleeping outside is going to be a lot safer.
No other race in the universe goes camping. Celebrate your own uniqueness.
Nobody else is
Come on,
stupid
Percy,
enough to do
over there.
this.
Need a hand getting it up, Owen?
If I did, I wouldn't ask you.
Well, that was rude.
Oh, come on, it's just a bit of fun. Who's the last person you snogged?
You even sound like an 8-year-old. Who the hell says snog? Gwen. Ashley?
When was this? It was complicated.
That business in the morgue, that doesn't count.
It's my turn, is it? It was Lisa.
Yando, I'm sorry.
Sorry she's dead, or sorry you mentioned it.
And I just didn't think.
You forgot.
Would it be a buzzkill, Yanto? We're trying to hate camping.
Could the weevils have come out this far?
No, weevils don't finish off their victims like this.
Is that ours?
Yeah.
Oh, and the tent too.
Got a Range Rover.
It's their Range Rover now.
Looks like that body wasn't a warning. More of a decoy.
That would mean we've been watched since we've arrived.
Tosh, can you get a tracking signal?
Already done. I took the liberty. It's
Good job.
currently...
Nothing for 30 miles.
Call me suspicious, but this has all the hallmarks of a trap.
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. Anyone fancy a walk?
Well, best go set it off.
I would say that looks like the moors down in Devon. But it's a little further north than that.
Why would anyone want to live out here?
The other thing, this would be a great place to live if you're not a creep or a psychopath or something. If you just want a little alone time, it's nice. I feel like they've shot classic Doctor Who episodes here.
Guinness on tap, no doubt.
What is it?
There's another body in there.
Same as the other.
Yeah, why don't you go
Look
look
at
this
this,
time?
Jack. Because whatever it is, it can't be human. How far is this going to spread?
Stay
I
focused.
should be at home having dinner with Reese. What am I doing here with you?
Eh.
What's that?
Just a... fox or something? Check on the back.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the wind. Who knows?
Do they not have guns?
They should have guns.
Everyone should have a gun. If you're on the Torchwood team.
Yeah. It's the nice thing about Torchwood. Most UK shows would not have guns. There we go. Oof. This place has ninjas. Oh! I mean, I'm just shooting there wildly.
Another inch to the left, and one of your vital organs might have been. Anyway.
But it's not.
Alright, do you want to quip about feeling a small prick?
No, but thanks for offering.
Here we go.
It can't be much worse than getting shot.
Let's get the pellets out, eh? Right. There's going to be a certain amount of residue. So, just like that. And a Torchwood.
Okay, don't think of torch. Think of something better.
Buckshot.
Yeah.
Do you miss being a doctor?
Excuse me. Still am a doctor. I just don't deal with patients anymore, that's all. It's ideal. That was the bit I always hated.
Probably his terrible bedside manner.
Yeah, Owen. What I can do to turn around.
You just thought we'd help out. You were shot.
I'm hungry.
We should have had that cheeseburger.
Not that hungry.
Yeah.
It's just a shoe. Wait. There's another. There's dozens of them.
Oh my god.
They're
People are
cobblers.
down here.
And what happened to them? Josh, what is it? What's in there? Tell me.
You know what? I wish it was Zool.
They need to eat.
Now I wish it was Zool.
He said they'd come back.
Let's not jump to conclusions. We don't know who they are, what their intentions are.
I'm thinking that's not a good sign.
Does anyone else know you're here? Have you managed to call for help?
We don't need any help.
We are the help.
Whose brain did you take?
Yeah.
Abby somebody? Abby somebody? Abby normal?
It's Christian Bale.
Attack us.
What I was thinking.
Tell us what these creatures are. Do they look like us?
How else are we gonna look?
Oh no. We fell for it, fool.
No one's coming for you.
Oh!
Kick him in the face now. She should be limber enough she could sit down and put those cuffs under her butt and around her feet.
Yeah, I don't believe he would be back up and running so quickly. He'd be down for like a solid hour dealing with that.
Why don't you give me the gun? Me.
Yeah, it's a show with guns, but they don't have the shoot first, ask questions later.
It's our village.
Oh! Ah, finally, shooting people! Good job.
They need to get her to hospital.
Oh, when you control the bleeding, then phone the police. Jack, please give me an hour with him. Don't tell me you don't want to know too.
Yeah, shoot him once more just for the hell of it.
Eh.
Make me understand.
Why do you care?
I have seen things you would never believe, and this is the only thing I can't understand.
Because it made me happy.
Come on. Out.
Just cannibals.
Yeah, there's no aliens here. So the retcon, you still got any of that lying around? Need a stiff drink of that.
All these things, they're changing me. Changing how I see the world. And I can't share them with anyone.
You can now.
You can share it with probably the worst person on the team you could have chosen.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
Alrighty.
Because they were leading up with Jack teaching her how to use a gun, that it looked like she had some kind of feelings for Jack. So this thing with Owen doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I can't remember if there's any in episode 5, like any moments we missed from that. I don't think so. Because, I mean, they reference episode 4 in this one, so I think it all kind of worked out. But anyway, that was Countrycide, spelled with a C at the end there. What do you think?
Now, again, pretty standard, village full of cannibals. What they don't explain is how they move so quickly. I would understand that, there's 2 or 3 of them doing it, but still, to see that very quick movement does not explain how these old people, and let's face it, they're not youngsters, how they could have moved that quickly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess there's the idea that it wasn't always, like, the couple, because, like, you had the cop, you had, I think they never cut back to the kid that they originally found, so I can't remember if he was part of it or not, but yeah, I assume it was just a couple of the younger people in the village were probably doing that, so I don't know, but
the interesting premise overall is that the aliens are not the only weirdos in the universe.
Yeah.
That we have people here on Earth who are just as bad, just as awful as, the Doctor Who Scorpion villain.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of taps into, last week we finished the Dalek 2-parter, and at the beginning of that episode, Dalek Sec was saying, I feel humanity, their ambition for war, their ambition for violence, their hatred, and he says, a Dalek can use that, and it's like, in Doctor Who, they I don't want to say they gloss over it, but they tend to show the better parts of humanity and how the Doctor can bring that out in them. And then you get to Torchwood, and that's all out the window. But I will say, I feel like this is one of the first episodes where they actually take advantage of we're Doctor Who, but for adults, Like with the earlier episodes, it's like, okay, Doctor Who for adults, we can put in some swears, we can put in some sex, blah, 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 and stuff. And it's like, okay, sure. It weirdly becomes more juvenile than actually adult. Whereas here, it's like, this is just a dark story, It's one of the few times, outside of, the old, like, First Doctor historicals, where there are just no aliens. No nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing alien-like is Jack, and they don't even really bring that up too often. So,
Now, did he say that they had been doing it for generations? Because, I mean, every 10 years, and there were obviously people who were younger, but I didn't see any children. But, I'm assuming that they are bringing up each generation to do this. But, again, how is it that only just now, in, 2006, 2007, that these disappearances have ever been investigated?
Well, they said at the beginning, like, the police have just been stumped. They have no idea why there's no correlation between any of them, between any of the victims. Yeah. So that's what kind of, turned on the light bulbs for Torchwood, thinking, well, if it's nothing that can be figured out through normal human means, then it must be something alien. And so that's why they were thinking, like, okay, does the rift go out this far? We don't really know. Could the Weevils be doing this? Well, the Weevils don't really... They're not this specific. They just kind of kill their prey and then they move on. So it's like trying to figure out, it's like, okay, what kind of alien would do this? Until you get to the end and it's like, it's just not an alien. Yeah. It's just a terrible village. Never drive through the countryside when you're going on a vacation, especially Wales, apparently. So...
And our family has been out to some very remote spots.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I would say, like, stay on the highway. I don't know how far the highways go in the UK.
Well, they do have an extensive system, but it's like when we went to South Dakota on that big long trip we were taking all the way up to Seattle. Do you remember we stopped at this little town called Belle Fourche, which was supposedly the geographic center of the United States? There's this wonderful little plaza there, and it's got all the compasses and everything. And we were out there taking pictures, and the curator of the museum or whoever came out and said, "This isn't actually it. This is the closest town, so we put it up here as a tourist trap," and then gave us the instructions, and we had to drive like 10 miles north of town. And she said, "Be sure you take the dirt road." So we go west on the dirt road about another 7 miles. And literally out in the middle of the South Dakota Badlands, about 50 feet north of a barbed wire fence, there's a tiny little flag and a hand-painted sign that says, Geographical Center of the United States. And we're looking around going,
there's...
What the heck?
There's nothing here. So...
A bull that looked very suspiciously at these intruders.
Yeah.
And we never did go out. We never did go beyond the fence because that bull looked like he could run very, very fast, and we could not.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just the thing about the countryside. It's I don't know. It's terrifying, honestly. I mean, it can be fine. You can go out into the countryside and it can be completely fine, but sometimes you go out and it's the Dark Ages. Case in point, I remember there's a episode of Doctor Who way later on where like one of the companions, I think, gets stuck. I think it might be in Wales, and she like goes to a tavern, and they all just start messing with her and like scaring the crap out of her, and it's just like, and then they reveal it's like, oh, we're just joking with you, and I was just like, she didn't do anything to deserve this, Yeah. So like, I don't know. It's just sort of a weird thing, but yeah, this is an interesting episode. It definitely it stuck out in my memory the first time around, more than other episodes. So, and actually the main guy in the village, he was actually in an episode of classic Doctor Who. I think, if I remember right, it was like Vengeance on Varos or something. He was like one of the guys there. He was like a security guard in that episode, I think. So so now he's back in Torchwood, in this terrifying place. So but it is an interesting thing, like they bring up, is this, like Yanto brings up, like, this is too much, and Gwen also brings that up a number of times, and I like it. I feel like, especially with this episode, it's like it really works with the team as a team. With like previous episodes, like, well, some characters, some of these characters, Cyberwoman, suddenly Yanto is thrust into being a main character, and it's like here I feel like the team really works and has a good dynamic. But I like that part where it's like, clearly Yonto has not done, field work like this.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, who is supposed to protect us? And it's just a thing of like, honestly, I guess you just have to protect each other.
Yeah.
So,
and again, the one thing that I don't want to say disturbed me, but if they are in fact a team and they go out investigating, you would think they would have the basic, fighting skills. And for Tosh not to be able to get out, not to get out of the handcuffs, but at least get them in front of her seems to be kind of a basic sort of thing that they would have learned. And again, Owen is a doctor, but even doctors, if you remember, I don't know if you ever watched MASH, but the doctors do have to go through a certain amount of combat training, because in the event that they are overrun, they are expected to, be not just doctors, but they also have to be soldiers.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's not... I think because the thing is, it's such a different kind of team. Like, if this was Torchwood 1 or Unit, like, all of that would be a thing. But, from what we can surmise, Owen was just a normal doctor. At some point, he must have encountered some kind of an alien and then found Jack and then was recruited. The most training we see is that Jack will teach them how to use a gun. But even in the same way, like, Gwen is not really a capable fighter, but she was just a, PC, police constable. It's just, I kind of like I guess just sort of a beat cop is what we would have in America. But even then, they would have some level.
Yeah, you've got to have some level of physical training, because all police officers, men and women, have to be able to stop a criminal from hurting other people. I mean, they're the first line of defense, literally.
Yeah, so Gwen should have more than the rest of them. Owen was a normal doctor. We haven't really said where Tosh is from, like what she was doing before she found Torchwood, but yeah, it's like they're not all that trained. Like, they're not from those sort of military or just these institutions that would teach you stuff like that, except for Gwen and Jack, because we know him being a former time agent, I think is what he said all those episodes ago in the Ninth Doctor series. And then just we know that Jack has just been all around, so which I like that at the end, because it's just like everything seems to be going to hell and everyone's been captured and stuff, and then you just kind of think in the back of your head, like, wait a minute, where's Jack in all of this? And then it's just I like that he just crashes the tractor into there, and presumably that kid he found told him everything. But I like the idea too that it's like he doesn't care either way. That was a real shoot and then ask questions later, because he just went in and shot whoever wasn't on his own team.
Yeah.
So that was a good one, and would have finished the job and just killed them instead of having them be arrested by the police. And that kind of brings up, it's interesting at the end when Gwen is like, I have to understand this, and if I can't understand this, then, if I don't understand this, it's just going to drive me crazy. And it's an interesting thing, especially because, the way she says, I have seen things that no one would believe. She has seen aliens. She has seen a gas that takes over a woman's body and then bangs men into dust. She has seen all these ridiculous things, but this is the thing she just has to understand. And it's just like, how can this sort of darkness be on Earth? They're just humans, but if anything, like, this just shows like humans aren't actually that special. There's a lot of good. They even say they're the only species in the universe that goes camping. That's something, and there are those little things, that the Doctor will point out. That's why he likes humanity, but there's certainly a lot of bad in humanity. Yeah. So, and then just at the end, just that whole, why did you do this? And he just says, because it made me happy. It's just like, it's such a, it's such a great performance from him. But then that leading her to being with Owen. It's a thing of like they kind of set it up with this episode, you know, that she does kind of have this attraction to him, and then the fact that it's like, you know, she can only talk about this with people in Torchwood, and it's like, yeah, but don't go for like him. It's like he has some good moments, sure, you know, like when he's patching her up after being shot by a shotgun, but then it's just like, I don't know, maybe Jack. He kind of has more of himself put together, you know?
Yeah, and again, I thought they had set that up earlier in an earlier episode, but, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, so. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Next time. Okay, everyone wants us to watch episode 10, I believe it is. I completely forgot what that episode was. And even now, I still barely remember it. But everyone says that's a really good episode. So we can try. We can try to come back for that episode. Because what I originally had planned was we were going to just watch pretty much the rest of the season on our own. And then come back and do the 2-part finale on camera. But I will see if we can try and fit in. I mean, it may even just be that, you know, maybe next week we'll just do another reaction. And we'll probably won't have finished all the other between episodes, but we will get to them at some point. So, but yeah. But this is the main issue with... As much fun as we're having watching Torchwood, it's like, this was always the main issue with watching it, was thinking like, okay, how am I going to do Torchwood? Do we just watch all the episodes? Do I want to watch all the episodes? Do I have time to watch all the episodes? If not, what episodes are we going to watch? And so it's a whole thing. But I guess we can try. Maybe we'll come back just in 2 weeks and do episode 10, and we'll just try to find time to watch all the other episodes in between. So
Okay.
But that is basically it. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Torchwood reactions, as well as all my old Torchwood reactions. I just decided to reuse that playlist. There's also another playlist with all the Doctor Who reactions and stuff that are on the channel. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.